speaker today is Jen Holub. She is the CEO of Export Computer Exchange, which is a company she purchased, and since she took over, it has experienced tremendous growth. She's also CEO and co-founder of On Purpose Marketing. She is a marketing expert and, in fact, teaches classes on marketing at Southwest Tech. She has a degree in management from SUU and a master's degree in human resource management. She's known as a motivator and a connector in the sense that she's particularly adept at mobilizing human resources, connecting people with the right jobs. She is known to be passionate, authentic, optimistic, and outgoing, and we are very glad to have with us today Jennifer Holub.
Well, this is awesome. I teach some classes, normally a lot smaller, so I am not used to this many people in an audience. So, yeah. I'm just as uncomfortable as probably you guys have been up here in situations like this, so I appreciate any grace you pass me and any engagement. I'm more small group type of person. I love classes like that, one-on-one, hearing about things, and co-creating stuff. So I'm up here out of my comfort zone, and I'm gonna ask you guys to jump out of your comfort zone if you have a question and just jump on in, because I can talk about this stuff for days, and I could, just say a couple bullet points and run out the door.
I'm so sorry, I'm trying to turn these lights off.
Oh, you're good.
And so I apologize, it's not going well.
All right. Well, it's awesome to be back here too. I got my start at SUU, and my careers started here in Cedar City. 22 or 23, I was given the opportunity to start up and run a business. I was definitely not qualified. Looking back, so many lessons and so many things that my ego got in the way of me learning back then. So here I am, rewind, I'm 42 years old now. I have 2 businesses. I am a manifesting generator. I come up with a new idea almost daily. I am not an implementer. So I don't know if you guys know much about your design or things like that, but if you're looking into running businesses, owning businesses, it's something that's really, really important to make sure that you partner with and you're working with people who complement the skills you have, and you're not both competing for the same thing or that you have different goals. So like I said, I'm a manifesting generator. That means I generate ideas nonstop. Like so much that if you don't want new ideas and you don't want to change, I am gonna exhaust you and you're gonna wanna run out of the room. When I teach classes, I say the same thing. If you do not try to pick up on all my ideas, and I have to know which ones not to pick up as well, what to prioritize, what not to, because the same thing is, I've got 2 companies, I've got 6 employees, I've got multiple contractors, and I've got multiple clients. And so if I were to chase every single idea as well, then I probably would never get anything done. So I'm also really huge on education and knowledge. So like I said before, in my younger days, I can definitely say that my ego got in the way of some of my progress. And then when the time I learned that I didn't know it all, that I didn't need to know it all, that it didn't matter in a room if I did know it all, that really changed my projection and how I was able to go out and conquer and be where I'm at right now. So I've owned the one company for a little over 5 years. I'm on my 2nd business partner. So if you want to know about bad partnerships or great partnerships, I can tell you I've had both of them. Another really important thing to know, and that was important in me knowing who I was and what role I wanted to play in the company. And making sure that really I could hit the goals. So my first business partner, we did not have the same goals. We both had complementary experience, which was really important. So I don't regret any part of that. I went through a very long legal battle over that, which is something, another thing you can have both of my businesses I started with best friends. One is no longer a best friend. The other, our friendship is stronger. And again, I came into that 2nd business with a lot more knowledge than I had before. So, who I am not. I'm definitely not the implementer. I told you guys that's just not my thing. I need to have lots of implementers around me Does everyone in here understand like the generator and implementer? Okay. Thank you for feedback, by the way. So for a generator, like I'm generating ideas. I'm out, I'm in front of people, I'm talking to people, I'm at conferences. I read so many books that when I move, my dad gets so frustrated when I have box of books or box of rocks that I move place to place because they're so heavy. But yeah, so I'm generating ideas nonstop, which also means I'm taking the company another direction, right? So if you don't like change, it's really hard to be around me in a business setting if I can't just drop the ideas and have someone run with it. So the people that run with it are my implementers. So I have to have lots of people around me who can implement. Not saying I don't also like other ideas, because I do. I need a lot of feedback on those. There's a lot of times where I have this idea and they're like, Jen, this is the worst idea ever. I'm like, okay, why? Tell me why it's the worst idea. Because I think it's the best, and that's all I've been dreaming about and reading about all week. And they're like, well, how are we going to implement this? How are we going to do that? And so, that's the other thing of having these partnerships. So for me, I'm not a solopreneur. I do not want or run businesses alone. There are some people that's exactly what they want to do and why they go into entrepreneurship. They want to just work for themselves, by themselves, their own hours, and that's awesome. I'm just not that. I like to have a partner. I like to have someone to bounce off of ideas. I like someone to have excitement about it. I like someone to give me feedback. I like someone to tell me this is the craziest idea you've ever had, and sometimes say this is the craziest idea you've ever had and let's do it. That's even more exciting to me, where I'm like, oh, good, this is awesome. So, because I'm really kind of running around in high energy. So the other thing I'm not is I'm just not one to sit still or be complacent. So for me, I want to change the world. And I want to change the world starting with me and everyone around me, which is why this opportunity is just awesome. I'm so excited. I hope that there's something that you get out of here that's valuable, or you think of something later, or you even message me. You guys can all have my contact information if you just have a question, wonder where to go, because I am a human resource. So my master's degree in human resources really fit me perfectly. I am that walking dictionary and that connector. I had an old boss that would play the game. It was his favorite thing to do, to come in each morning and think of what connection I may or may not have. And I worked for him for 18 months. The only one he got me on is I did not know a mechanic for a Volkswagen. And now I do, by the way. So so that's one of the other things and how I've gotten to where I am. So history is I got my bachelor's degree here at SUU. I didn't really know if I would go to college. I guess I kind of expected I would go to college, but really I came to college and came here because my parents weren't going to let me have any other choice if I wanted to keep being supported and be 18. Came here, got married young, got divorced young, and graduated from here. And then I went out into the world and I explored all kinds of things. So again, I said I like change. I'm not afraid of change. So I moved places, I took different jobs. Then I got in the company that I'm in now, Export Computer Exchange. I was working there, and life was good. I was making fantastic money in my 20s. I was still living pretty great life here in Cedar City. Hadn't really questioned it all. I had my path all figured out. I was on this path to own this company. I was on the path to getting married. I was on the path to having babies. I knew what town I wanted to live in, what I wanted my house to look like. I had the vision board with all of it. And then life came in and was like, just kidding, and changed that plan. So I reassessed and I changed it. And I left and I went back and got my master's degree, and then I got some more opportunities that took me more places, and then more places, and more times out of my comfort zone than I could even, I don't even remember what my comfort zone is anymore. My comfort zone is now in the uncomfortable, because that's where the magic happens, which is my shirt, making magic happen. So I went through that. I moved around. I lived in 12 different houses in like 3 years. And some of the coolest experiences, right? I got sold on these awesome jobs, these awesome internships, this money, these places, and it was fun, and it was terrifying, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So circle back, I'm through all that, and I think, what else do I have to lose than to go back and buy this company that I know? I'd worked at it, I knew it, and I'd always planned on owning it. It was on my vision board. So in 2006, I had a vision board, and I don't know if any of you do vision boards. Are vision boards still a thing? Do you guys actually still touch paper? Okay, just checking. Okay, so I had this vision board, and on it was this cabin, this truck, this husband who had passed away, so that wasn't gonna happen, but this business. And I remember finally, like I was at the point where I was like, this is not what I want in my life. Once again was reflecting. I had gotten brought into a company at an executive level that did not have the same moral standards that I did. And once I realized that, I had to get out. I could not ruin my reputation. And that's one of the things, that's really important, and what I say to a lot of people is your reputation is so important. You're gonna keep it with you. And you may mess it up, and you may have to fix it, and I can tell you there's probably pictures on the internet or things out there or stories that my friends of yours could tell you that I'd be like, not the 42-year-old Jen, right? And no big deal, here I am. It got me here. So there I was, and I was in this place that I needed to make a decision because I found myself in labor court, and I just wasn't gonna do that again. So I had the chance to buy this company. I thought, okay, I know it. It was on my vision board from 10 years before, which I did not remember at that point, right? I'd moved so many times, vision boards. I still have them, but they're all crinkled and messy and all the things. So I come back and I buy the company. And there it was. I pulled into the driveway of this place I bought with the truck that was on the vision board, that I would joke to everyone I knew that not to buy the truck on the lot that I wanted here at Cedar City Ford because I licked the handle. And I was driving it, and I was pulling up to that cabin 10 years later. And really I went so many paths along the way. It did not look pretty, it looked crazy. I told people so many times, like, I'm leaving, I'm not coming back, I don't wanna be in this career, I wanna do this, I wanna do that. And then I'd come back, and I would approach it differently. And I was like, well, changed my mind again. And they're like, well, of course you did. Now everyone's really kind of used to, my little wild, crazy, and what seems like really risk taker. So that's one of the other things is I am a risk taker, but I'm a calculated risk taker. And that's something that has been very, very important, and having people around me that recognize when I'm being risky and like so excited that I'm, like not seeing everything out there, or that I've really actually calculated and can make this decision that I know is gonna impact me, my business, the people around me, the organizations I'm involved with better. And so that's one of the things. So on the outside, like I said, it kind of looks like chaos. There's people that have really been like, are you sure you want to do that? Are you going to do this? I'm like, oh, I've calculated and I've decided the cost, the pros and cons and the risks and something like that. So what I would love to be sometimes is the 11th hour, the 11 o'clock hour, right? When you're almost there. And I start to get questioning things. Even before I came here, I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. I can talk for days. I'm so excited to be here. And then the 11 o'clock hour, I'm like, what if I didn't pull up? What if I got distracted and stopped and got coffee instead? Those kind of things. So I have to have those people around me also that know that I have this 11 o'clock hour or in the 11th hour, because sometimes I think I just want to burn it down and start over. So another kind of one of those things to like think about, and things I have to think about, and the people around me need to know to call me out on. And they will say, are you having an 11 o'clock hour problem? Is this an 11 o'clock? Or are you want to like burn it down? Because sometimes I'm like, I could just burn it down and start over, right? I've started over so many times. I've lived so many places. I've learned so many things. And I had a mentor. Oh, bless her. My first mentor. I made her so crazy. And she still was the one that taught me the most, is that I love so many things. I love people, I love kids, I love animals, I love learning, I love books. I could live in a library. But she's like, you've got to focus. You've got to decide what you want to do. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I could do good at this. I could do well at that. I could like this. I could live this place. And I did. I tried a lot of those things. But she would say, just keep focusing in, getting really sure on what you're going after at the moment. And so for me, I thought, well, you're not going to put me in a box. You're not going to pigeonhole me. I don't want you to just say, do this, do that. But really what it did is it helped me keep making those choices. So when I chose this thing, even if it didn't work, I could choose something else. And I could choose something else. And when the people have come to me and been like, you said you weren't going to do that, I'm like, change my mind. I made one choice and then I made another choice. And that's the awesome thing, right? It's your life. You don't have to appease anyone else. And I know it took me a lot of years to realize that. So I am boldly and authentically and unapologetically myself, which I have absolutely had to be to get to the success level I'm at, and especially in the industry I'm in. So with the computer company, it's a male-dominated industry. It's in warehouses. There's a lot of entry-level employees. There is still more sexual harassment going on in those environments than as a society I'm sure we want to admit that's happening. So I had to have really tough skin and things like that, and really just keep navigating those different types of things. And I don't remember exactly where I was going with that. So I'm going to circle back, and I guess that's more of the history, right? So next part of the history is, so I'm in that business. Things are great. I have a great team. I'm a generator, so I'm getting bored. So I'm looking at bringing someone else in to take over my role so I can just advise. And that's one of the other things too to look at if you want to be either that technician and just working alone and doing your thing, if you want to be the manager of your organization, or if you want to be the CEO. I definitely want to be CEO. I want to be executing new things, growing the company, getting bigger, reaching those goals, and changing the world around me, like I said. So the computer company, we take used equipment from here in the US and Canada, and we ship it all over the world. So we're basically like the real estate agent, because we're a broker, of used equipment. So when they upgrade, it goes into an IT company, and they clean up the data, they get it ready, and then they ship it. And it gets super boring, right? It's the same thing, right? We're just dealing with used stuff. And so for me, it's like, okay, it's stuff that we don't want here in the US, but we're shipping it all over the world. But it makes my heart happy, the big picture of it, because we're supplying technology to people that otherwise wouldn't have access to it. So, plus, we make money on it. The other thing I know is what my margins need to be. That's another really important thing, and I'm really transparent in that. The people that I work with and I partner with, they know that when I come into a deal-making process with them, that I need to have a margin of 18%. Otherwise, it's not a deal I'm willing to look at. So if you do get into that world, that's one of those things too, right? We only have 3 things we can exchange. We're exchanging time, money, or bandwidth. I have 2 companies. My time it's limited. I have complete control over it, which is awesome, but I exchange a lot of my time for money. And I exchange a lot of my money, or my time for money, because I like to make money, because I like to spend money. And I like to share money. And I see money in a way that is just one more form of love, right? I get to share it around, I pick who I give it to, I travel all over with it. And so for me, I've got the money that I exchange for time, and sometimes a low bandwidth. So that's one of the other things when you're looking at stuff like that, and what your real goal is when you go out into the entrepreneurial world. What do you want to exchange? What are you willing to exchange? There's been times in my career that I've been directed by so many other people that I was giving away so much of my bandwidth, right? Because this person needed me, and this person needed me, and this person wants me to do this, and this person wants me to help them there, and this person wants to, pick my brain over coffee and things like that. And I had to get to the point too that I was like, hey, I've only got these 3 things to exchange, and what is the exchange, or what are you bringing to the table as well for me to exchange one of these things so I can hit my goals? And so again, we keep circling back to, what are your goals? What are your priorities? What do you want your life to look like? You get to choose that. I did not get to choose that when I worked for other people. And I did choose to work for those other people, and I learned a ton of things. I was fortunate enough to be in management from the time I was 22. So I had lots of experience. I had lots of leeway, then I had no leeway. I went from a startup to working for the government. So everything in between I can pretty much tell you about, right? All the red tape to none of the red tape. So that's one of the other things to look at. So me, I don't really like rules. I abide by the laws. That's important to stay in business, to get to where you're at. I don't think I could probably do this job from jail, but I don't really like a lot of rules either. So that types of industries were really hard for me to be in when you're in the government roles, or you're the different things like that. So that's one of the other things, is really that circling back to knowing yourself. Knowing yourself, knowing what your goals are, knowing what your priorities are, and taking care of yourself, which is the major thing that's really made a big difference is in that self-care. I want to say yes to everything. I get excited about everything. My other company, the marketing company, I started that up because I love people's passion. You could come to me and say, hey, I want to create a farm that saves every mouse on the planet. And you guys would have no idea that I hate mice. Like if a mouse ran through here, I'd be on the table screaming. You'd have no idea that I was successful at anything because I would not be able to function with a mouse in the room. But I love people's passion and excitement and that variety that it gives me. So that was more, when I started that business, it was more, I actually didn't intend to start that business. That business started itself. So I was asked by the women in business if I would come in and teach a class. I sat next to the ladies at a luncheon. I said, sure, what do you want me to teach about? I own a business, I know HR, and I love marketing. I said, oh, everyone always wants to know about marketing. Will you come in and teach marketing? Okay, cool, what do you want me to teach about? Well, we don't know, everyone just asks about marketing. So I'm like, okay, I'll teach a marketing class. So I came in and I was like, okay, what's the basis of marketing? What's the basis of life? Is really the mindset. And that's how I approached the company and got Export Computer Exchange to the position it is. So Export Computer Exchange was on its deathbed. It's the only reason I was able to purchase it and get it at the price I wanted and knew where I could get that growth. But what I changed is I changed the marketing and I changed the quality control measures. But in marketing, I was just writing authentically. I was just reaching out to people. I was, trying to bring them in to this environment that I wanted to set up, which was good used stuff, honest prices, and really just making it as fun and easy as possible. I wanted to spend more time outside and playing and out of offices, and there's a lot of times I actually don't think I spent a single day in my office in the last 2 weeks, besides maybe the morning check-in. And other than that, I've got it set up that I'm just on my phone, which is part of my self-care. And the other thing is not getting bored, right? I do better with my computer company because of my marketing company. Because my marketing company keeps me really engaged in a lot of different things and keeps me in that open mindset and that learning so I'm not getting stagnant and bored. So I teach this class, and all of a sudden people are trying to hire me in this class. There was 19 people there, and I was like, oh, no, this isn't what I do. I own a computer company. And I was like, oh, just kidding, this is what I do, but none of you guys pay me. You guys should all pay me. That sounds like the best idea ever. So I go to a friend who's really technical in marketing. I call her up. She'd said before she wanted to start a marketing firm. She's my perfect partner. In the business, things are great. And so anyways, I go to her and I say, hey, I'm gonna start this marketing company, right? I have people literally trying to write me checks and try to hire me to do stuff. And I can't do it alone. I'm not interested in doing it alone. Do you wanna be my business partner? She's like, well, no, I mean, I do, but I need to wait till my youngest is in school. So my business partner has 6 kids. Her youngest is a honey badger. Like, she does not care about anything. She's on top of the roof. She's jumping out windows. She's like, I can't do it till she's in school. Like, how are we gonna start this company? And I was like, well, it'll take a minute to start a company, right? No. We hit our 3-year goal at month 10. Well, she's giving me all these things, and I'm like, hey, if you're not gonna do, I'm gonna still do it. So you're either coming with me or I'm finding someone else to partner with. But I've got people ready to write checks. And so I tell her she's got 24 hours to let me know, right? I'm not gonna let her waver back and forth too much. 24 hours, she can sleep on it and get back to me. And she calls the next day and she's like, okay, because it'll take a while, and then Olivia will be in school and we'll be good. 10 months later, we hit our 3-year goal. And we started in COVID. We launched March 15th of 2020. So we actually had no business for a while. We thought, oh my gosh, everyone's gonna want marketing, right? Like, they've gotta survive, and everyone's like, ooh, not gonna spend our money. Like, did we make the right decision? I mean, either way, it didn't really matter, right? It was just another company on the side, right? It was gonna be our hobby. Well, our hobby is now another full-time job, which we have a blast at, which is something that keeps me engaged and entertained about the computer company, because I don't know if you know, there's only so much you can say about a hard drive, or a used computer, or equipment that's 20 years old. We're selling stuff around the world that has a reuse value of $20 sometimes. I mean, which is super cool, right? Because they would not get this technology, but it can get really boring because I am not the technician. I am okay being the manager, and I love being the CEO. So the marketing company really feeds and puts those two together, where people once again were like, are you crazy? You're gonna start another company? Like now you have 2 full-time jobs plus, and but I love what I do, right? I love doing the marketing. I love sharing people's passions. I love mice if you love mice, right? You just wouldn't know that sort of thing. So, another one of those big things is really knowing that that's what feeds me. That's what drives me, and figuring out what drives you. I have some friends that what drives them is a 10-hour night of sleep. Cool, have it. Then there's me that what drives me is coffee and a lot of books, and chocolate. I tell anyone, if you work with me in a health or medical way, if you tell me that there's no more chocolate or coffee, you're fired. It's fine, I know who I am, right? It doesn't matter if it's gonna kill me. That is my joy, is coffee. So I make sure I always get that. I also have a really good routine. So even though I said I wasn't in my office at all, last year I actually traveled over 150,000 miles by plane alone. That's not counting how many I put on my truck. Because I got my new partner, my new business partner at the computer company the year before, and he was on the page of expansive growth with me. And so I'm like, I'm gonna hit the road, I'm gonna get all these accounts up and going again, we're gonna go back to the levels we were at before, and just grow this company to no end. And it almost killed me. Probably 2 or 3 months in, I thought, what am I doing? Maybe I want out. Maybe I want to claim bankruptcy. I don't know. All I know is that I'm so tired, and I live in airports. People were recognizing me in the airport. When I come to the Cedar City airport, if they haven't seen me in a couple weeks, they ask if something's wrong. I'm like, no, something's right. I'm not here. I've got my accounts and everything going so I can be out living my life unless I'm hopping on a plane to go see friends somewhere. So I had to implement really strict self-care, actually, and that's a huge priority. And I have to keep coming back to it. Even though I know how I can function and manage these businesses and do these things, I will still think, oh my gosh, I've got it, or I'm so busy, or this is more important, or that's more important. And so right now I'm doing, I don't know if you guys know the program 75 Hard. If you do, and you know much about it, another level of my crazy, but it keeps me on track, and it keeps me with this routine and making sure that I am my #1 priority. I also am an animal collector. We're just gonna call it a collector at this point. I have 7 of them, and I travel, and somehow I manage to keep them all alive when I'm gone, and people take care of them and do great things. But yeah, even with them, I'm like, no, I have to get my walk in before this, or I have to do this before that, and get my water in, and things like that. And even today, I was having the conversation that I might have to change an appointment. Because I said, I just need 1 day where I don't have any commitment, because I have been committed every single day. I've had people in town, the person left the same time I pulled out of my driveway today. I've had people in town for 2.5 weeks. I love guests. I love people around me. I love being out of the office, right? So we've been out hiking all over, seeing all kinds of things. My legs are so sore, I'm surprised I'm standing from how much I've hiked. But yeah, staying on top of that self-care and that routine and knowing those things is really the only way, and keeping that program at hand for me is the only way I get to keep doing the things I do without going crazy or wanting to throw people out of my house. Which is exactly the next thing, is setting yourself up for success. So for me, I know what sets me up for success. And I know what doesn't set me up for success. And what sets me up for success is lots of water. I require lots of water. My brain is processing so much. It's really what keeps your brain going, is lots of water. I also know sleep. I need to have a solid 8 hours of sleep, uninterrupted. I do not apologize for my sleep. I'm the first one to bed, don't care, that sort of stuff. And then working out and movement. Who in here has a good routine? Do you guys have routines? I did not have a routine when I was in college. No? That is something I'm going to highly recommend when you want to set yourself up for success. And if your level of success is, I want to have a blast at college and party like a rock star, cool. That can be your marker. I mean, that was my marker. When I moved here, I'm from a small town in Minnesota. I have a huge family. I did not know anyone out here. My dad took a transfer out here. I was in college back there, parent-free. You can only imagine where that ended up. It ended up me out here in Cedar City, Utah. going to college at SUU, and I didn't actually know even how to like make friends, right? Because I lived in this town where almost everyone was my cousin. So I could be a total punk and I would see them at dinner on Sunday, right? Like it was fine. I didn't really need anything else. So I got here to college and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to make friends? Like, how do I do that? And I don't know everyone in town, and everyone doesn't know my parents or our family. They don't know if they pick on me that my cousin's gonna come beat them up, all those things, right? So that was really my thing in college, where it was like, I was always a good student. I love learning. I still learn every single day. I read a book every single day, or at least pages of a book every day. But also that was what I was going for, is learning to make friends. Right? And now here I am with more friends around the world than I could possibly count. Wherever I fly, I've got someone to go to dinner with. I've got someone to meet up for lunch, to pick me up from the airport, to stay at their house, to go see their kids, to see their farm, to see whatever it is. I'm dreaming of a ranch, by the way. So that's my next big goal, is having a ranch. So as you were talking about networking and networking, that's really marketing yourself. That's one of the big things. So some of the things that I would say definitely have kept me on the path I'm on is never stop learning. Never stop learning, and learn from stuff that challenges your beliefs or your belief system or what someone else told you. I remember there was one time that I was really passionate about something. I also had a pretty big ego then. I was really passionate about something with a big ego, so put those together. And whoever had told me that information was wrong. And I was almost sure that I was right, and got, again, knocked off my pedestal. And so now I read more information on things that I actually really wouldn't normally pick up, where it's not continuing to support my own belief system or the things that I like. Don't get me wrong, I love validation. I love reading something, going to a conference, looking at something and being like, oh, I do know what I'm doing. And other people are doing it, which was another major thing in the career thing, is that there is not anyone, I don't think, who stands up here, who has a business, who does anything that at some point, or not even often, wonders if they're the most qualified. The imposter syndrome. Getting up and saying, yeah, I can do this, I'm the right person for this. But the thing is to be the right person, you only have to know about 10% more than the next person, and have the networking and the resources to get the answers you need. The information is all out there. So I network like crazy. When I came to college here in Cedar City, my goal was to get a degree, make a lot of friends, and figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. Today's Jen at 42 wants to have a ranch. That's what I want to do when I grow up. I'm not quite sure I'm ever going to grow up. That keeps me learning and doing new things. But just knowing that I've got that information and that I can reach that information, and having those people in your pocket. That's another thing, is like your circle and your tribe. You will only get so far in your own bubble. And you're only going to get so far in your own environment, and in your own mindset, and in your own community, and things like that. I can't imagine what my life would look like if I stayed in my hometown. I can't imagine what my life would look. I can actually. I have so many cousins I can probably imagine, to be honest. I could probably pick one and say that's what my life would be like, and I'm sure I'd be perfectly happy as well. I had no idea that it would look like this, that I would see the places I've been, see the places, do the things, experience the stuff, be standing up here. I mean, I was a party animal when I started school here. I hadn't ever been that. I'd always been the good student. And I don't know how I went from Minnesota, where that's far more acceptable and accessible than coming here, to be the party animal here, right? Like, I mean, Cedar City was like 12,000 people maybe when I moved here. And yeah, they're like, you guys let her lead a business? Do you know what she did this weekend? She was just out having a blast, making all the friends possible. So the people around you, and seeing that success around. So I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I don't come from a family of major risk takers. We are the only ones that have left the state. The rest of my family lives in 2 towns in Minnesota, and I can tell you all they said was, you're crazy. They challenged my mom to leave my dad, to not come with for the work. They challenged me to stay. I stayed. But we took risks, and we took calculated risks, and it's turned out phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But it's all those people around me, right? So I saw other people around me. I didn't see it in my family. And that's all I'd seen up until the time I moved here. So I would get into these networks and these places, and I still get in these rooms where I'm like, how did I end up in this room? Oh my gosh, I got invited into this room. And, oh yeah, I belong in this room. I have friends who are multi-billionaires. I am nowhere near that. Do I hope to be that? Yeah, because I want to have a ranch, and I want you guys to all come hang out at it, pet my chickens, play with my horses, bring me all the animals, except for the mice that need homes, all the kids, all the stuff like that. Another thing I tried was I was a foster mom. Again, people were like, how are you going to do that? You have 2 businesses, you run around. I'm like, I don't know, I just am curious about it, so I'm going to try it. So that's the 3 things that if you don't leave here with anything but these 3 things are what keep me not only somewhat sane, but also just knowing that I'm on my path, is that I'm curious. I stay curious. I read so many books. I go to so many conferences. I listen to so many podcasts, and it's my curiosity, which then I have to, determine what I'm going to follow and what I'm not, and then my courage, that I'll get up and I'll stand up, and it'll be okay for me to be uncomfortable. And I'm up here sweating like crazy as I'm talking to you guys. It's fine. If you come talk to me after, I'm sorry if it smells like I've been sweating up here like crazy, right? But that's where my courage kicks in, where this is what I'm going to do, because this after those things is always where I find the magic. So the curious, courageous, and connected. My whole life revolves around the word connected. It starts with connected to myself. Then it starts with connected to nature. Then it's connected to the people around me. And on and on and on. Connected to the business, connected to the idea, connected to the philosophy, connected to the values, those sort of things. I really wouldn't even need all the other words that have described me. All my different profiles, all the things I am in business, all the things I'm not. I could give you a list of at least 100 things that I am and 100 things that I'm not. Probably 200 that I'm not, because I'm kind of I like to be a little bit of out of the norm. It's where I find the most fun. But that type of thing is just reminding myself what I'm still connected to. I think we're getting close to question time. I can ramble on another topic unless you guys want to jump on in, because I feel like I've rambled quite a bit on a lot of various topics. Yeah.
My question is on, you said take care of yourself. You kind of talked about how you always said yes to things you want to say yes. So how did you develop your own personal boundaries? What do you say yes to? What do you say no to?
Well, I go back to if it fits into one of those things, right? If it's going to get me out of my comfort zone, as long as my self-care is met, right? Is it going to encroach on my sleep? People know not even to try to encroach on my sleep, right? They don't even try. I don't get invited to those things anymore. The other thing that's really been big for me is that I can want to do something and not be able to. I have almost completely eliminated the word but from my language. It makes it a lot easier on people where I'm like, I want to do that and I really need my sleep tonight. I want to be there and I can't. And sometimes I give them a reason and sometimes I don't. And really deciding who has access to me has been a big thing even this year, because I'm a helper. I'm a helper by nature. Anyone who meets me knows that I'll help you. I'll help you with anything. And I don't have to give everyone a reason why I can't help them anymore. Some people get access to me and some don't. So, even in my team, I've got kind of boundaries set up that way if I've got a filter. Like I've got 2 assistants that filter me on either side. And that doesn't mean everyone can't call me, but that's their first line to go to. And if it just doesn't align with what's gonna get me to my goals, or if I'm gonna feel like I wish I did something different the next day, then I'm gonna say no. And I'm gonna say it really nicely. I can't be there, and please invite me to the next thing. Or I can't be there, and it just doesn't line up to what I've got going on, or it's not on my priorities, right? Because you're always figuring out your priorities, your time, your money, your bandwidth. And so a lot of times the other thing I can say when I get invited places is I can say, hey, that's just not in my budget. Doesn't mean I don't have the money for it. It's just that's not how I'm going to dedicate that money. And this is, so when you think about those three things too, hey, I can't dedicate my bandwidth. Hey, you know what, I've got a big test tomorrow. I have to keep my brain strong for that tomorrow or whatnot. So that's really recent that I've learned that too. And like the last year, I wish someone would have taught me that before, because sometimes I was a kicking toddler, and I still am sometimes. I still have kicking toddler coming out where I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with any of this stuff. Hang up the phone, get a new number, burn it down, right? Yeah.
Can you tell us more about your marketing company, like what you, I don't know, like specifically do, like who your clients, like what's your demographic like?
Oh my gosh, so we don't have a demographic, which is awesome. Well, our demographic is small to medium businesses, right, who don't have an internal marketing company, but they can be anywhere from a startup to, we're doing one of the biggest health and wellness events in the country, or actually in the world. We do stuff for them. So I love ideas, right? I love strategy. I love getting people excited. I love reinvigorating them. So it was really starting with kind of strategy and pointing people in the right direction. Who can help you get these docs together? Who can get that website? What should your marketing plan be like? How do you set your budget? So we do a lot of that. We do a lot of consulting, a lot of teaching, and then we do a lot of the implementation. So my business partner is phenomenal at websites and ads. Like, I just don't know anyone better than her at websites and ads for these different companies. Me, I'm great at the ideas. I'm great at the language. I'm great at like getting people really clued into who their target audience is, who it's not, and how to speak to that audience and make sure that the message comes across. So if any of you all are marketing yourselves, you're all going to be in marketing everywhere around, no matter what. This is marketing, right? And networking. So there's just some really good books out there too on that, like building your story, building a story brand. And so for me, that's really what I love to do in the company, is just make sure people are finding their audience and hitting whatever goal that is. Because some people think, well, my goal is to sell to everyone. You don't want to sell to everyone. You don't want to, there's plenty of people I don't want to work with. And luckily, I'm at the point in my career where I can fire people from clients, where I'm like, nope, you're not my speed, right? This doesn't work for me. I don't operate like that. So that kind of answer your question. We're kind of everywhere, and it's so fun because we deal with so many things that it's like, I've learned so much about such random topics, so I can help with messaging.
So you said you came from like a small town, and you discovered that you're way different from like a lot of your family. So do you feel like you had a mentor, or how did you go from small town to what your family does to where you are now?
I've had a lot of mentors. I place a very, very high level on mentors. I still get mentored. I actually use the mentors here in town as well. I went all the way up to the Capitol with one of them from a mentorship that they helped me on. So I've got a lot of mentors, a lot of other people around me, a lot of people that I want my life to kind of look like theirs. I also was the girl that, although no one knew that I worried about everything, they thought that I was the girl that just did not care about what anyone thought. Now I actually really hardly care about what most people think. There's a couple of people that their opinions are really valuable to me and I want their feedback, but for the most part, it's dangerous, right? And it's dangerous in such a good way where I'm like, no, I'm just gonna be me, and I'm the only one who can be me, and I'm the only way, and this is the only way I can do it. And so, it's one of the things, I didn't wake up like this, it took hard work. It's one of the things I hate when people say, like, oh, you got lucky, or you had all these things, or you got this. No, I work hard for this every single day. I read every single day. I stay on my routine every single day. I choose what I eat every single day. Like, do I want to say no to the donuts? No, I don't. But that doesn't get me to who I want to be. And so I just am really pretty much unapologetically me. And it's working all right. Kind of like it. This is the best day of my life yet. Yeah.
How do you find the perfect mate?
perfect mentor. Well, perfect is an illusion, so we'll start there, right? You just find someone who emulates something you like, right? So if you want a wild and crazy lifestyle like me, or to do things like that, that's how you find a mentor, right? Where you're like, oh, because they don't have to have all the answers, right? And they don't have to be permanent. That's the thing, where you can continue to choose. And you can interview and you can just say, hey, this is what I want my life to look like. Can they teach me how to get here? And the thing is you actually don't even have to have a mentor in person. A lot of my mentors have been on podcasts and in books. There's times where I'm in an airport and I'm like, what if I see someone and I'm starstruck because they're a mentor of mine, they have no idea, and I'm sure that they've got to know me because they're like my best friend from a podcast. So there's so much out there. There's so much information. So it's really just kind of seeing who's got the energy and who fuels you, right? Who fuels you being you?
We've got time for one.
Oh man, you guys are gonna have to like flip a coin. You both went up at the same time.
I was just wondering, so how do you allocate time and everything to one business over another? One week, your own time? Like how do you know which one needs more than one?
It's pretty messy, right? I had to learn to really ebb and flow and really kind of set those boundaries about when people will get deliverables. So in my marketing company, my deliverables, I can set the time and say, hey, you know what, I don't have time in my schedule for another week. Where my computer company is when the equipment's there and it's ready to go and they have a warehouse, I have 24 to 48 hours to find a buyer on it because I'm a broker. So I just have to think about that. I have a schedule, that's a calendar that's always with me. I block out time. I try to say, hey, I want Sundays to myself. It doesn't happen a lot, but I do my best at that. And so it's more about keeping my energy really high and my sleep well, that I can keep accomplishing it. And when I have to say no, it doesn't really upset someone. And I'm always setting expectations. Even with my employees, anything, I'm like, this is due this day. I need you to have this done this time. Same thing, I set the expectation to that person. If I say, you know what, I'm taking the weekend off, or I can't have that back to you for another week, then they're not bothering me that whole time up to that. And I also tell people what takes priority in my world. And my employees know what takes priority in my world. And all the time, you know, my computer company, I'm like, is this gonna make us money or not? Like, we're not a nonprofit. I gotta pay a lot of paychecks. So I think about a lot of things that way too. Is that going to help me pay the paychecks of everyone here in the company and keep giving them raises and that sort of thing?
Okay, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah.